Hello lovely people, and welcome back to another 360 book review where I talk about a book and try and give you a 360 view of it in 360 seconds or less. Today I'm talking about the Wayfarers series by Becky Chambers. I have book 2 and book 3 in my hands right here. Book 1 I have lent out to my friends. So this is a episodic sci-fi series that takes place in a very big galaxy far away. Book 1 is called A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, I'm pretty sure, and then we have book 2, which is A Close and Common Orbit, and book 3, which is Records of a Spaceborne Few. Yes, they are very, very long titles. So each book can be kind of treated separately, but they all take place in the same world, and the world is loosely where human beings have left Earth but quite a long time ago, and instead have gone out into the universe and integrated themselves into a variety of different alien races and alien cultures. Book 1 follows a very Firefly kind of inspired series where we are following a spaceship that has a very motley crew, and they're going and taking kind of odd jobs and kind of surviving on the outskirts of society, and then they have a run-in with a very, very aggressive alien race, and it's really a way of introducing the world to us as readers. There's a whole bunch of discussions about race and gender and sexuality, which Becky Chambers works in, using the alien races as kind of placeholders to discuss these things. I think there's an alien who can change its gender based on different parts of its life. There's another alien race that has a very relaxed concept of monogamy and different ways of kind of viewing relationships and families, and like with any good sci-fi, the idea is that it's using it as a jumping point to discuss things that we can have in our world, but it's a little bit easier to swallow discussions of racism when we're talking about people who are green and have scales rather than, like, you know, actual humans, because that's how we work. Book 2 instead follows a sub-character of book 1, and it is about an AI or artificial intelligence program that basically gets a humanoid body, and it becomes a real in-depth discussion about what it means to be human and what it means to be a person and to have personhood and what it means to kind of have sentience. I think book 2 is the strongest personally, but this is a discussion that I really enjoy. I think each one of the books tackles a really interesting topic, and we'll kind of explore that a bit further. So book 1 is very much based on kind of rights and human rights and kind of differences in things like race, gender and sexuality, whereas this one is looking far more at conceptions of personhood and artificial intelligence. This I think is ridiculously strong. It is definitely my favourite, like I just said, and even though they are jumping off points for discussions of various kind of big topics like this, Becky Chambers doesn't lose the like real humanity and like characters and the actual plot behind each of the books. So don't worry if you're thinking that they're going to be these big grandiose discussions and like lack that kind of real down to earth, what makes good fiction kind of element, because it's definitely still there. Book 3 is Records of a Spaceborne Few, and this one instead is set on a spaceship where they are the original or descendants of the original people who left Earth, and I can't remember exactly what it's called. The Exodus Fleet, there we go. And basically they still live on these spaceships, and they're very, very isolated from the rest of the galaxy and the rest of the world, and they still have a lot of their human traits and human traditions, and it follows a series of different characters kind of touching on various points in their lives that all sort of interweave together. And this one becomes a lot more of a discussion about what does it mean to kind of shut yourself off from people, and the idea of like different cultures meeting and what is and isn't kind of important in that interchange, and definitely becomes a bit more of a conversation about immigration almost, because you have some people moving to the fleet to try and find a better life, but then you also have people leaving the fleet trying to look for a better life, and so it becomes a discussion around immigration as a topic and being a migrant. I think it's really interesting. It was probably the weakest one of the 3 for me, because it was the one that had the fewest other exciting alien races and like the kind of most limiting settings as such. So whilst the way that the fleet interacted and worked was quite fascinating, it was missing a lot of the sci-fi elements that I think made book 1 and book 2 the strongest. Book 1 is basically just Firefly, like not in a bad way, but it is definitely just Firefly. Book 2 is definitely the one that goes the furthest, and I think book 3 limited itself back down. Having said that, I gave all of these books at least 4 stars, 5 stars in the case of A Close and Common Orbit, and they are unbelievably strong when it comes to sci-fi fiction. I think if you are intimidated by sci-fi, these are really good places to start, because you're not looking at that crazy intergalactic war space opera type thing that I think a lot of sci-fi set in different galaxies with all sorts of different alien races can definitely become very easily. I think it's a far more grounded, down-to-earth, pun not intended, kind of look at sci-fi, and it's almost a contemporary but with a sci-fi slant, because it really is looking at the day-to-day lives of these characters and how they function and how they interact. But it just so happens that one of them's a freaky lizard person and one of them's like a giant blob person, and you know, one of them's an AI, and that's totally fine. So those are my thoughts on the Wayfarers series. This is a phenomenally popular book series on BookTube, and I think that there are more planned in the series, and I think Becky Chambers does a wonderful job with them, so I would definitely recommend them even if you aren't a sci-fi nut yourself. That's pretty much it from me, so have a wonderful reading week, and I'll chat to you soon. Bye!